Okay, hi folks. There are a few of you guys that have not seen the demo for the slab project exercises. So I'm going to run through that real quick and see if I can get you caught up. Okay, so we are going to need your rolling pin, the two sticks, or one of the half-inch dowel rods cut in half, and you'll need a ruler of some kind, and then the rest of your clay tools. So we'll go ahead and get this rolling. Just like you can expect from every project this semester, there are exercises at the beginning of this one. It's a way to not only get you used to the technique, but also get you thinking about what's going to actually happen in the project you're going to do. When the clay gets kind of low, you might as well just tear it out of the bag. Okay, so the first thing, you can see that I've been using some of this clay before. So if it's like that, you can't just go ahead and use it because they'll trap air in pockets in there and it's no good for ceramic. So what we're going to do is we're going to wedge it. If you've kneaded bread dough before, it's a lot like it, only instead of trying to put air in, we're trying to get air out. Kind of rolling it on itself and kind of spinning it every time. The clay can get denser and denser, and the air kind of goes, like I make a little wodge here every time I push it down, and it works its way around and around like that. That's why it's called spiral wedging. And the air comes out that way. Okay, so I'm going to cut this guy in half. You guys got a tool much like this, right? Like two things on the end and something for cutting through. So this is what it's primarily used for, is cutting up clay. Don't go trying to strangle anybody with it. Okay, so then I'm going to lay these down and make myself a slab. Now I know that I want to make kind of a long slab, so I'm going to start off with a piece of clay that's kind of long to start with. Okay, so here we've got these things here, and then we just start spreading out the clay. Pretty easy, right? Just kind of steamroller in it, and you saw it was about this much clay equals this much slab. If you need much more, you'll use more clay. If you need a little less, you'll use a little less clay. Very logical. Alright, so we're going to make three things. Right here are the examples, these three sets here. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut three pieces exactly as close as you can to 3 inches by 3 inches, right? Really careful measuring. Okay, so we'll start out with that one first. So if we know they're 3 inches by 3 inches, we then know that we need something as a start 9 inches long. So how we start slabs is by cutting off the hunks that don't adhere to the shape we're trying to make. I'm going to use the needle tool to cut this. I'm also kind of looking at the edge of my table like you can with your board and keeping this kind of level with it, right? So there, and there, get some of the rough stuff off of there. You make a lot of scraps when you're using slabs. That's just part of the deal. So now I want to get a sense if I have my 9-inch slab in here, and it looks like I do. Oh, lucky me. So I'm going to make a couple of markings there. And I'm going to hold the straight edge as perpendicular as I can. I can check it against my table, and I can check it against the piece, and then cut the lumpy end off. And then do the same thing over here, making it as perpendicular as I can. Right? Okay, so now we know we have 3 sets of 3 going across. Wet slabs are really easy to mess up. Just picking them up and putting them down puts torsion on them. You know, like if you squeeze it all, it'll make one part, you know, a little bigger and stretched out, and then part of it thinner. So don't do that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to measure off 3 inches off of here. Now, for those of you, you know, if any of you guys don't have much in the way of experience with rulers, there's no shame in that if you never had a chance to learn it. But, you know, so this is 2 feet, 12 inches is a foot. An inch is divided first up into 1/4 of an inch, 1/2 an inch, and 3/4. Those are the biggest lines that come down here. Then the next biggest lines are eighths, right? So 1/8 of an inch, right? You probably heard of that. So 2/8 makes 1/4, right? So 8 and 8 is, or 1/2 of 8 is 4, right? So makes 1/4, and then it goes down below eighths to a 1/16, right? Also, the thing you want to make note of, if you can see on my ruler, the numbers don't start before the end, right? They don't start right at the end. Like the aluminum is a little longer than the number, so you would not measure it right to the edge of the stick. Your ruler might look just the same as mine, so you want to check that. Okay, so all that means is when I'm doing my measuring, I'm measuring it from where the inch starts, not where the metal starts. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, obviously. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I'm just going to lay this down one more time. Okay, there we go. Then I can take and connect these lines. The ruler will want to stick to the clay like crazy. So we've got those connected now. These obviously aren't squares because we haven't measured it the other way. So we'll do that next. So we're going 3 inches. So I'm looking at the edge down here of that. I'll make a mark there. And then over here, same thing. I'm going as close as I can to perfect there. So we'll make a mark right there. And then we'll cut these guys off just like that. Okay. More scraps, which we'll wedge up a little later. If your scraps are going to sit around for a little while, stick them back in the bag because they'll dry out pretty quick. Okay. Now what you'll see here is that these slabs are pretty damn close to the same size, right? But they've been bent a little bit. Like this one, when I pulled the ruler off, it stretched it a little bit, right? So I would have to tap that back into size a little bit and treat them very carefully because they're wet. Now these 3 tiles started out just like these other ones that I just made, and you'll see some differences. Like these are smaller, right? And that is because clay shrinks as it dries. Once these get even drier, they'll get even smaller, right? So these will shrink that way. The other thing that you'll see is that the edges on these are pretty nice. They're beveled a little bit. That means there's just a little bit of angle on them. And they're all cleaned up. I waited to do that for a while. I think it was 2.5 hours, totally exposed in the air. So these pieces would become, you know, stiffer, so I can work on them without doing any damage. Okay? And that'll be how you treat all of your slabs or tiles or slab tiles. Okay, so that's the first one. That's pretty easy. Okay, so I'll just put these to the side for now. I'm going to grab my other half of the clay here and these scraps and wedge them together. You can see it's all a big mess, but I'll force them in there and make them more dense. My old teacher used to say, how long do I have to wedge things? Or I used to ask him that, I should say. And he would say, well, just wedge them until you can't stand them anymore, you know? And it was a different time. He used to smoke cigars in the studio when we were working. It was really something. Okay, so we're going to do the same here. Again, I want kind of long slabs. And I'm going to see if I can get the two pieces out of this next slab. We'll just see. There are a couple other ways to make slabs. A couple of you might have done this on a slab roller before. There's a really fun way to do it called casting slabs, which is my favorite. But I am aware that you guys don't have the space to do that. See how I'm kind of stretching this out? Okay. Put this big cow's tongue in between there. And then I'm going to grab my roller and start working it over. Yeah, when we were planning around how to get you guys the right tools to be able to work at home, like we're really trying to keep it limited to this kind of space, you know? A little bit of diagonal. Okay. I'll put these to the side. Okay. Kind of looks like I skinned an alligator or something. Or a snake. Okay, 18 inches, but I don't think I'm going to get it, so we'll make another one. I think I have another one made all over there. We'll do the cooking show thing. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of the top scrap. And then we'll get rid of the bottom scrap too. Have here. Yeah, I'm short by about 1.5 inches, so we'll just take off the ends and have a really nice same thickness kind of thing. So that's real important. You want it to be all the same thickness all the way across. Like if the end gets kind of crushed and smashed like I'm doing right there, that means that it is smaller, thinner than the other parts, and is likely to dry faster and crack. And things are hard enough already. Okay. So I'm going to go back and take a little bit more off of this, double check, make sure that I got it. Yep, I do. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is do exactly what I did before. We're going to make 9 inches. Cut this extra piece off. And then the next thing you're supposed to do is like this one here, though it need not be the same pattern, this bottom one here. You see how it's triangle, triangle, diamond, triangle, triangle, diamond, triangle, triangle, diamond. And it could go on and on forever. It's a repeating pattern. We could even go like the other direction. You know, go diamond down this side, put another couple of triangles by it, it goes the other direction. So I want a geometric repeating pattern, right? Okay, so making that one, I'm going to mark this one as 3, 6, 9, and 3, 6, and 9. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of eyeball the spot that's exactly between the corner and the mark that I made. Let me double check this one. I don't like that one at all. Yeah, actually that's pretty good. So okay. If you feel like measuring in between, if you feel like you can't measure by eye well enough, the number is 1.5 inches, and you can do it that way. You're welcome to do it that way. Okay, so, but I'll do the same thing down here. And then I'm going to do it the longitudinal way there. So we'll take and measure 1.5 inches, and we'll take and measure 1.5 inches. Right? So we'll just get kind of a faint line going here. Okay. Alright, so now you just kind of start matching them up. Like so, this middle one to the bottom 1.5 inch line. Took a little bigger one, but that's okay. This middle to this 1.5 inch line. Right? This middle down to the center of that thing, right, which would be in this neighborhood. Right, the 3, 6 goes through the center thing as well. I'll just mark those now real quick. So we'll go like that. And then we'll grab the other direction. And while we're at it, we're going to be able to start connecting these things all the way across. So again, I'm real interested in you coming up with other kinds of repeating patterns. And for the project, that's what you're going to do. For the larger project, you're going to do that. This is just an exercise that you will do before you begin the project. Also, I will need to see your ideas. I'm pretty sure that I will, by the time you're seeing this, you will have in your chat with me the description of the assignment. So you will be able to start thinking about what your project is. Before you get started on your project, please remember that you need to show me it first. Right? Like, I want to be able to talk to you about it. We have a weekend coming up. It's Thursday night right now as I'm doing this. So, you know, just get in touch with me through WebEx. As soon as I see it, I will definitely reach out to you and we can, you know, talk it over, get it squared away. Over the next week, we'll spend the whole week working on it. You know, we'll have a couple of minor things to do during class. But other than that, you will be working. Okay? So you can see how this comes apart, and we can identify all the pieces. Alright? Now, just like with the tiles, these are wet. And they are really easy to move around and squish and mess up. So you can see, like some of these guys here, I did the same thing. I beveled the side, I cleaned them all up, right? So you're going to do that as well once they become leather hard. Okay? Okay, so that's 2 of them. So you'll be amazed at how easy it is to forget the pattern when you're moving these things around. It's always kind of a puzzle. Right. Okay, so now the last one, let me see. Not that one. Nope, not that one. Okay, so I don't have the cooking show one, so what we're going to do is we're going to use our imaginations. I'm just going to drop this one, stretch it out a little bit, get it to a kind of a reasonable length, and we can use our imagination on this one because we are not going to make measured forms with this. We are going to make a set of little organic tiles out of this. And so remember, I mean, we've already been talking about organic. We'll get through this project and not everything will be about organic and geometric, whatever. But for now, it kind of is. So I can just take and make some kind of lines like that. And now I've got these organic shapes that all make up my little tile piece. Wow, this is kind of beautiful, if I say so myself. So, right, so we got these guys, and this little guy here, and this little guy here, all right? So this is the organic batch, right? So that's what you have to do. We need the 3 tiles that are cut as neatly and nicely as you can and then cleaned up. Then you need the geometric pattern that you just kind of measure out. You can measure out definitely a different one than I used there. This one's a pretty conventional one. And then you need an organic one. And you can just kind of freehand that and just end up with, you know, organic shapes. Okay, what else? So, the project I will send to you guys, and I think that's it. Remember to wedge up your scraps. You're going to put them away in your bag so that they don't get dried out on you. When you're drying these things out, you will put them on a bag, on a board, right? So like I have these guys sitting on a bag, right? And then they get covered lightly with another bag. Now if you want these to dry out faster, leave them uncovered. Just don't leave them on the board because they'll dry super fast because the board is always thirsty, right? So you can do like this. But whether you have a bag on the top or whether you're not using a bag at all, you want to have something on top of these because tiles want to curl. And unless you flip them sometimes and put them on the other side, they'll start to curl. This one is a good example of that, and I think you might be able to see that. You can see how it's up on the sides a tiny bit. That's because it's my demo, and I've showed a bunch of people this, and it hasn't had much time to sit and dry, so it's been uncovered a lot. And you can see how it's starting to cup, right? So make sure you have something sitting on top of there, like even a couple of magazines will do it, you know?